I went into Assassin's Creed Black Flag, expecting a simple pirate adventure. I figured it would be a light-hearted romp across the Caribbean, a way to make some quick coin, plunder a few ships, and just sail the open seas without a care in the world. I was not prepared for the whirlwind of conspiracy, betrayal, and epic naval warfare that completely took over my life. This wasn't just a game. It was a wild ride that pulled me from being a self-serving rogue into a battle for the very soul of the 18th century. This is the story of how a young Welshman looking to escape a dead-end life and make a fortune accidentally stumbled into a centuries-old war and become one of the most feared pirates of the Golden Age. Imagine your life as a pirate begins with your ship already on fire. The deck is splintering under your feet, cannons are roaring, and the captain you serve is bleeding out. Then, out of the chaos, an assassin appears, finishes the job, and in the explosions that follows, you are thrown into the unforgiving sea. That's not a cutscene, that's your first 5 minutes. The game just throws you right into the middle of a massive naval battle. One moment you are fighting another vessel with everything you got, and you manage to cripple them. A victory that feels hard won. The celebration is cut short when you realize your own ship is burning too. As flames lick the sail and the mast groans, he shows up. The assassin. He moves with the purpose you don't understand, kills your captain with brutal efficiency, and then boom, a massive explosion sends you flying. The impact with the water triggers a flashback, a jarring shift from the high-stakes chaos to the mundane misery I was trying to escape. My partner's voice rings in my ears, a constant, disappointed drone. "What? You are not going to work?" she'd ask. Her words dripping with very frustration that fell heavier than any anchor. My reply, full of naive and desperate bravado, was always the same. I want a better life. It's the classic pirate dream, isn't it? The belief that a fortune is waiting just over the horizon, and a life of freedom and riches that will solve all your problems. As I coughed up salt water on a deserted beach, it was the only thing I had left to cling to. Waking up on that sun-scorched island felt like a cruel joke. My ship was gone, my crew was gone, and my only companion was the very assassin who had offended me at sea. We were two survivors in a paradise that felt more like a prison. Of course, a truce was out of the question. A short, frantic chase through the lush jungle ended with me getting the drop on him. As he lay, I found his nest egg, a strange, glowing cube. And the letter detailed a handsome reward for delivering the artifact to the governor of Havana. It spoke of a man named Torres and a betrayal. This assassin, Duncan, had turned his back on his brotherhood to sell their secrets to their sworn enemies, the Templars. But all I saw was the money. As a pirate, or at least aspiring one, money is everything. The letter promised a fortune, and that was a language I understood. A little voice in my head whispered that I had to bury a real-life treasure hoard someday. And this felt like the first step, so I did what any self-respecting rogue would do. I took his ropes, his identity, and his mission. Dressed in the unfamiliar garb of an assassin, I started my new life by immediately returning to my old ways, running around the beach and looting coins from the pockets of washed-up corpses. It was during this scavenger hunt that I uncovered my first taste of the beautiful, broken weirdness this world had to offer. I saw a man half-faced into a large boulder. I couldn't help but stop and stare. Hey dude, what the heck? You grown into the rock? It was hilarious. Immersion-breaking glee that somehow made the world feel even more unpredictable. With my pockets a little heavier and my moral compass spinning freely, I managed to commandeer a small schooner and set sail for Havana. The moment I took the helm, something just clicked. Steering that ship was pure bliss. It wasn't just a vehicle to get from A to B, it was an extension of my will. I loved how it turned, how the wheel spun so smoothly, the creak of the wood, the snap of the sail in the wind. It was intoxicating. Docking in Havana, it was like stepping into another world. The city was a vibrant, sprawling maze of Spanish colonial architecture, teeming with life and opportunity. I spent hours just getting lost in its streets, My new ropes granting me an anonymity I relished. I climbed every charge, synchronized every viewpoint, and of course looted chests at every opportunity. Eventually, it was time to get down to business. I found the governor, Woodes Rogers, and his associate, Loriano de Torres. Playing the part of the turncoat assassin, I handed over the artifact. They spoke of their grand ambition to find a place of immense power called the Observatory. The man who held the key to its location was a mysterious figure that called the Sage. This glowing cube I delivered was apparently a key that needed the Sage's blood to function. They were pleased, but their payment was insulting. They gave me measly coins for a treasure I'd nearly died for. In that moment my decision was made. Forget these Templars, I would play along for now, but my loyalty was to myself. As they welcomed me into their circle, I was already thinking 5 steps ahead. The first thing I did, I pickpocketed my new pals, just reclaiming what I felt I was owed. Their goal was the observatory, and they believe I was their tool. My plan? I'll find that observatory myself for the big bucks. They thought they had found a pawn, but they had just armed a queen. My plan to double-cross the Templars hit an immediate snag. My first mission was to track down the Sage, but by the time I got there, I was too late. Someone had already freed him. My failure didn't go unnoticed. The Spanish authorities, tipped off by my Templar allies, promptly arrested me. I was thrown onto a prison ship in a massive fleet, bound for who knows where. They really picked the wrong guy to mess with. Rotting in a brig was not part of my plan. Alongside a fellow prisoner, a burly quartermaster named Adivale, I busted out. We didn't just escape. We started a full-blown mutiny, freed the other prisoners, and in the chaos we stole a whole ship, a brig we would christen the Jackdaw. The moment we broke through the Spanish fleet and hit the open water, I felt a sense of freedom, so profound it was almost dizzying. This was the life I had dreamed of. The sheer scale and beauty of the world were breathtaking. I looked out at the horizon and saw these massive waves, this gorgeous sea. The water simulation was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It felt alive, powerful, and dangerous. And then I saw it. Off in the distance, something breathed the water with incredible force. It looked like the ocean itself was playing. I remember just laughing, thinking, wow, they are throwing hooks like crazy. It was a majestic, slightly terrifying, and entirely unforgivable sight. Our first port of call was a place I'd only heard of in legends. Nassau. This was the heart of the golden age of piracy. A self-declared republic of rogues. Stepping onto its sandy shores, I was immediately overwhelmed. There was so much to do. My immediate reaction was a mix of excitement and paralysis. I've got tons of stuff to do. Tons? Yeah, tons of stuff. Fine. And so began my grand tour. I dove headfirst into the site activities. I climbed all 7 viewpoints, determined to know every inch of my new home, only to be frustrated by a glitch that insisted that I only found 6. A small but persistent annoyance that grated on my completionist nerves. It was in Nassau that I came face to face with the living legends of piracy, the formidable and theatrical Edward Touch, better known as Blackbeard, the clever and enigmatic James Kidd, and the seasoned veteran Benjamin Hornigold. These weren't just characters, they were my mentors, my rivals, and my friends. They taught me the rules of this new world, and together we dreamed of strengthening our pirate republic. While they talked politics, I focused on the practicalities. I used my ill-gotten gains to buy the best pistols and swords money could buy. I found a pretty cool outfit that made me look the part, rescuing stranded pirates to build my crew. The Jackdaw was my home, and I poured every spare reel into it. I started upgrading the ship, adding heavier cannons, reinforcing the hull, and sharpening the ram. The progression felt incredible. With each upgrade, my confidence grew. Sometimes the game's physics would lead to moments of pure, unintentional comedy. I remember getting into a brawl and managing to twist one guy's neck so hard, but he was still alive. The man just shook his head and went back to life. It was moments like this that gave the game its charm. Or the stealth sections, where I'd hide in a bush, only to realize half of my body was sticking out. Look how camouflaged I am. Not visible at all, right? Yeah, about as hidden as a whale in a bathtub. Nassau was our fortress of liberty, but it had a crucial flaw: zero defense. We were a sitting duck. Blackbeard, ever the pragmatist, had a simple, audacious solution. He uttered two words that sent a shiver of excitement down my spine: Spanish galleon. He proposed we capture a massive man-of-war to serve as a floating fortress. The task fell to me. The plan was complicated by the presence of a Templar, Julian Ducasse, who could recognize me as a fraud. To protect our mission, I had to kill him. It was a tense infiltration through lush, dangerous jungles. I remembered pausing during the mission, just to take it all in. What a beauty here, unreal. The vibrant greens, the cascading waterfalls. It was a stark contrast to the violence I was there to commit. After a tense sneak and fight sequence, Ducasse was dead. The galleon was ours, and our little cove was safe. Just as I was settling in my life as a pirate kingpin, the game would yank me out of the Animus. My handler in the modern day, Melanie LeMay, would pop up, gently reminding me of my actual job. Oliver Ciccio wanted me to speed up my search for the observatory. I was basically a corporate research analyst who kept getting distracted by being a pirate legend. This modern day segment felt like a career gig, and I had no clue why it was so important. They'd have me hacking coworkers' computers for this mysterious man, then a memory of his wife's, Caroline, leaving him. The pain of that memory was what set him on his scarlet road ahead. It was a sad, humanizing moment that gave my piratical rampages a tragic undertow. James Kidd pulled me aside. "Come see this thing," he said. Leading me to a secluded spot, he introduced me to Eagle Vision, an innate ability I apparently possessed. Kidd let me know that he has some knowledge about observatory. He told me to meet him later, on a remote island, to learn more. On the way, I finally gave it to the siren song of the open world. I took a detour, a very long detour. I was going to systematically dismantle the Imperial presence in the Caribbean, one fort at a time. The naval combat against these coastal fortresses was spectacular. I would sail the Jackdaw into range, dodging mortar fire and lining up my broadside cannons to hammer their towers. Bomb the forts. A bit more, I'd mutter, pouring on fire until their defenses crumbled. Conquering a fort unlocked new areas and provided tangible rewards. After this victory, I found the first of 4 keys for the Templar armor. A new obsession was born. I wanted it bad. The promise of legendary, damage-proof outfit was all the motivation I needed. I scoured the map, chasing leads. As soon I had the second key, then the third, then the fourth. I finally unlocked the cage, and the Templar armor was mine. It offered better damage protection and looked incredibly intimidating. But the journey was more important than the destination. That's when I truly fell in love with sailing. The simple act of traversing the massive map became my favorite activity. Sailing here is so chill. I'd pick a far spot on the map, set my course, and just let the world wash over me. The salty breeze, the sight of whales, and best of all, the sea shanties. My crew would launch into song, their voices rising and falling with the rhythm of the waves. The pirates sing, the sun shines, and for a few blissful minutes there were no Templars, no conspiracies, just the endless blue of the ocean. It was during one of my final fort assaults that the game threw its most spectacular moment at me. A storm had kicked up, and as I was maneuvering the jackdaw, a colossal rogue wave appeared on the horizon. There was no escaping it. As it crashed over my ship, I braced for impact, but instead of being destroyed, the jackdaw rode it. I managed to surf it on my whole ship. It was an exhilarating, unscripted moment of pure gameplay joy. With that, the last fort fell. The entire map was fort free. I had also maxed out Edward's personal upgrades. I felt like an unstoppable god of the sea, but a nagging feeling began to creep in. I had been explicitly asked to speed up for observatory hunt, but I did everything else instead. It felt bad, but also it felt right. This was my adventure, but now, with the map cleared, there were no more distractions. It was time for the plot. Speaking of getting distracted, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the pirate's life, do me a favor and drop a like on this video. And if you ever sunk hours into side content while completely ignoring the main story, let me know in the comments which game it was. Now, if you want to make sure you don't miss the betrayals, heartbreak and epic conclusion to this wild ride, consider subscribing. We're about to sail into much darker waters. Finally, I made my way to Kids Island. As I drew closer, I realized something was very wrong. The island was crowded with strange, white-robed figures. It was full of assassins, and I in Templar gear. My recently acquired legendary armor now felt like a giant kick me sign. I had to sneak my way through the entire encampment. When I finally reached Kid, the truth came out. He's an assassin, and this island, Tulum, was their hidden stronghold. They knew who I was, but Kid had vouched for me. He explained that his interest in the observatory was to keep it out of Templar hands. He led me into an ancient temple where we solved a puzzle. The walls were covered in ancient markings, and among them I saw the distinctive sage's mark, but with different eyes, hinting at his reincarnation throughout history. Just as we were piecing things together, the Templars attacked. Using the map, I had so foolishly sold them back in Havana. We fought them off, but the experience was a wake-up call. I needed to pick a side. After the battle, I thought I have to change this Templar outfit. I returned to Nassau to find my friends, Tej, Kid and Hornigold, planning their next move. We had intel about a massive stockpile of gold in the nearby fort. We raided it, only to find an old foe waiting. He revealed that the gold was for purchasing the sage from a notorious slave trader named Lawrence Prince, who was holding him in Kingston. Kid, now revealed as an assassin, wanted Prince dead. I had to hold him back, convincing him that direct assault was foolish. We would spy on the deal first. Naturally, the deal went south. A fight broke out, and in the chaos, both targets escaped. Kid was furious. Our next plan involved Kid creating a distraction while I took out alarm bells to corner Prince. It was during this mission that the next big twist dropped. Kid is a she. Her name was Mary Red. My reaction was one of pure, dumbfounded shock, but honestly, I just shrugged it off. One funny side note. If I equipped a hoodless outfit, Edward would still mime pulling up a phantom hood. We finally cornered the slave trader, but as he fell, the sage took Mary hostage. She broke free, but he rang an alarm bell, swarming the area with guards. We had no choice but to escape. Safely away, Mary officially introduced herself, and then threatened to unman me if I told anyone her secret. I believed her. When we returned to Nassau, the dream was dying. A terrible sickness was everywhere, and there were no meds. I undertook a dangerous dive to a wrecked ship, only to find the medicine chests were spoiled. Blackbeard, ever the man of action, had a more direct plan. Find a military galleon and take their supplies. We succeeded, but it was not enough. The Republic was crumbling. It was around this time I ran into State Bonnet again. The gentleman turned pirate. He was setting off to sail solo. I wished him luck, but I had a bad feeling about his chances. The situation grew more desperate. Taj, in a move that shocked everyone, took hostages and blockaded a port, demanding medicine. After a 10-6-day standoff, he got what he wanted, but something in him had broken. He announced his retirement. He was heading north to fight a peaceful old age, done captaining. It felt like the end of an era. I returned to Nassau to find the final nail in the coffin. Woods Rogers, the Templar governor, had arrived with the Royal Navy and a pardon for any pirate who would surrender. For the true believers, there was no way. We hatched a desperate plan to steal gunpowder and use it to fire ship to break the blockade. We snagged the powder, and I overheard the commander's plot to ambush the remaining pirates. I had to kill him. I attempted an epic jump from a mast, a classic assassin move. Completely failed, but still got him in the end. We loaded the ship with the gunpowder, set it ablaze, and rammed it into the blockade. With the thunderous explosion, the blockade was smashed. We were free, but we had lost our home. I sailed north to Ocracoke to have one last party with the retired Blackbeard. The mood was festive, but I couldn't shake a sense of unease. I spotted a suspicious guy on the shore, signaling to ships out at sea. It was an ambush. A British galleon attacked, and we were caught completely off guard. We fought bravely, but they overwhelmed us. I saw Taj get wounded, fighting against impossible odds, and then, unfortunately, he was killed. The most feared pirate in the world, dead. I barely managed to escape, my heart heavy with grief and rage. My next target was the ship Princess, which I knew had the sage. I tracked it, boarded, ready for a fight, only to come face to face with the ultimate betrayal. I was left for dead on a deserted island with another captured pirate, Wayne. The isolation and despair drove Wayne completely mad. I had to chase him down and put him out of his misery. Just when I thought all was lost, a ship appeared on horizon. It was Mary Reed and my loyal quartermaster Adiwale. They had captured the traitor and saved me. We continue our search for the princess, have increasing information that it should appear somewhere nearby soon, but we also learned that an old friend, Woods Rogers, is hunting for the ship, and we also found the traitor who joined the Templars. Then we sailed somewhere towards Africa to find this sage, and we met on an island. I helped him a little, and the man became a captain. He promised to help and handed me a piece of paper with some location written on it. We pretended to be Portuguese and stole a massive man of war to smash our foes. It was brutal, but it worked. Then Roberts showed me the way to the observatory, but we had tails on us. We wrecked the airship in a massive battle, and on a nearby island, I finally faced Benjamin Hornigold, the traitor, that now is a Templar. His death felt less like a victory and more like a tragedy. Another trader gone, and another friend lost. At long last, Roberts led me to the observatory entrance. He opened the massive stone doors, and then, to my honor, turned and killed the remaining crew, explaining the knowledge inside would drive them mad. Inside, I finally saw it. A device that could use a single drop of blood to track people anywhere in the world, to see through their eyes. It was an ultimate weapon of control. And Roberts betrayed me, dumping me down. So many traitors. I barely escaped, only to be mobbed by soldiers. And I was captured again, this time by Roberts, who planned to sell me to the king. I woke up in a cage, caught by scums. I spat, my spirit nearly broken, but then a familiar face appeared. Tabai, the mentor of assassins, was there to rescue Mary Reed. We went to free her, and I found Vane, alive, but completely nuts, locked in nearby cell. But our reunion with Mary was short-lived. She was sick, her body weakened by imprisonment. She died in my arms. That was the final blow. I broke. I descended into a long, dark booze binge, drowning my sorrow at the bottom of a bottle. I wanted to take another bottle, but then he appeared, Sage. But it turned out to be a severe hallucination. I knew I couldn't go on like this. I sailed to Tulum and finally, officially, join the assassins. It was time for a new purpose and a new outfit. My new life as an assassin began with a mission: kill a group of Templars on a beach. It started with a classic glitch. The enemies were on my map, but the beach was empty. I stood there, confused, until I turned the camera, and suddenly they just popped into existence. Animus bugs, I guess. My first target was an Italian diplomat. I stole his suit to infiltrate a party hosted by my old nemesis, Woods Rogers, and just killed him. He coughed up to Robert's location. The chase took me back to Africa. After a massive naval battle, where the Spanish fleet unexpectedly helped me, I boarded Robert's ship. I cornered him, and with a knockout shot, it was done. In his dying moments, the sage begged me to destroy his body. I handed the artifact, entrusting it to the assassins. The next on my list, Taurus, the Templar Grand Master from the beginning. It was time to close the circle. I tailed his guards through the city, now fully committed to the creed, my assassin outfit on. The plan was an elaborate aerial assassination. I climbed high, ready for an epic kill, but instead I accidentally shot the wrong target below me, which caused me to get yanked off the ledge. I plumped to the ground in the most ungraceful way imaginable. My target probably died of cringe just watching me. I eventually fought my way to who I thought was Taurus, only to discover it was a decoy. But during this fight, they has to realize I'm not the same Edward that was on the start. The fight was tough. This guy seems unkillable, until I just unloaded all my pistol into him. Finally received intel I needed. The real Taurus was heading back to the observatory. I raced there and, in an ironic twist, had to free the very same native guardians I had killed before. When I arrived, it was a complete chaos here. I saw Taurus standing on a high column in the center of the chamber. In the final, desperate leap of fate, I jumped onto Taurus. With a satisfying slice of my hidden blade, I cut his lifeline. It was over. I woke up in the real world one last time. A man appeared, the modern sage. He spun a wild yarn, but before I could process it, Abstergo security guards burst in and shot him dead. I was thrust back into the Animus for one last memory. It wasn't a memory of fighting or treasure, it was Edward meeting her daughter, Jennifer Scott, for the first time. She was the child of his first wife, Caroline, who had passed away while he was gone. The final scene jumps forward years, showing an older Edward in London with a grown Jennifer and a young boy, his son, Haytham Kenway. The game ends. What a time, what a journey! From a fiery shipwreck to a quiet life in London. From a greedy privateer to a master assassin and a father. Reflecting on the entire experience, it's a pirate team that truly rocks. The feeling of having your own ship, of having absolute control over it on the vast open sea, that was pure relaxation and joy. I went in looking for gold, but I found something more. I found a story about freedom, its promises, and its devastating costs. I saw a dream of Pirate Republic rise and fall, and I watched legends being made and then brutally unmade. This wasn't just my experience playing a game, it was a genuine adventure that I lived and breathed. I started as a simple man trying to escape his problems, got tangled into a war he didn't understand for a price he thought he wanted, and came out the other side a completely different person. It truly was a wild ride. So did my hook thank you? If you enjoyed this voyage, please leave a like. It's the best way to show your support, and I want to hear from you. Comment below with the video game betrayal that shocked you the most. There were so many in this game, but I know there are other heartbreakers out there. Finally, if you want more deep dives like this one, be sure to subscribe and share this video with your fellow adventurers. Fair winds and following seas, mateys. I see you on the high seas.